All right, here we go. We are here for another episode of the Head at Home podcast. My name's Jen Gallegos, and this is Andrew Gallegos. We have a great episode with a really, really awesome guest today. Uh, Before we introduce him, though, okay. So we've been doing this cold plunge.
The plunge.
Well, I've been doing it more than you. I feel like you chicken out sometimes, but we both did it this morning, and
I'm still freezing.
I know. It's like, when did we do it? Like 4 hours ago?
Yeah, it was a while. It takes a while to warm up. There's definitely some benefits to it, but I will say you do it more than me, but you keep it at like 60 degrees. And I like to go at like a little bit below 50. So,
Oh, here we go.
There it is.
It's the same. It has the same, like, I've looked at all the studies. It has the same response to your body. So it's
I'm
fine.
A little cold. I can handle the colder.
But if you haven't tried a cold plunge, I highly recommend. There's been a ton of, I would say, health benefits that both of us have seen from it. But and it gives you so much energy, and I feel like it gives us flashbacks to like being an athlete and like sitting in the
it sharpens the mental sword for sure for me. I love it.
Yeah.
We'll ask David what he thinks here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest, David DiPetro. He is a top producing real estate agent with Compass in Denver. We connected through social media this year, and I got to say, he's got a terrific presence on social media. Downtown Dave is his Instagram handle. Go check him out and follow him. He's young, he's driven, he's doing big things in real estate, and I'm excited to learn more about him today. David, what's up? Thanks for joining us.
Andrew and Jen, thanks for having me, guys. I would like to start us out with Downtown Dave was not self-proclaimed. One of my good friends in title was like, hey, you need a nickname. And he's like, you got to go with this with Downtown Dave. And I was reluctant of it for 5 or 6 months, but finally just said screw it, and through my Instagram handles and social media handles of that, and now it works, and I've gotten like some business off of some downtown units being like, oh, you were Downtown Dave, so we hired you. And I'm like, you got to sell your soul a little bit in real estate sometimes. So it was not an egotistical driven like I'm Downtown Dave, but it worked, and whatever. If it helps the client, helps some exposure, I'll take it. But no, really excited to be on here with y'all and talk to y'all, and see if I can help some listeners out, or just provide a laugh or something.
Well, we like to laugh on this, so feel free. So I want to back up and just kind of learn a little bit about you, and like, what made you want to get into real estate?
Yeah. What can I cuss on here?
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So,
David, just so you know, I used to be a principal, and it was like a joke that I was going to be the first principal for being fired, for cussing on the loudspeaker.
Yeah,
so you're good. Yep. Carry on.
A little bit hypocritical, huh? No, yeah. So growing up here in Denver, got to see the city explode when marijuana was legalized. It basically exploded the whole city, and I was young in 2008. Let's see, I'm 28 now, so it's about 12, 13, 14, kind of when that started. Denver started expanding, and I watched $1 Million Listing growing up, and in like high school and in kind of my early years of college. And Denver didn't necessarily have the same sort of buildings and exposure that New York had, but I basically, in going downtown to Rocky games and everything, I saw all these cool buildings and these old loft conversions, and I basically, for lack of a better word, with the correlation from $1 Million Listing, said I want to sell cool shit downtown. And that was as simple and as complex as it may be. And now I'm very, very blessed to be able to kind of realize a little bit of that manifestation and sell some cool shit downtown. And that's as simple or as complex as you need to be. But that's how I basically, it was the MO of doing real estate. You guys want me to go into a little bit of my backstory and everything?
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah. Like, and how long have you been an agent too?
Yeah. So I 6th year, I just got the notification from Facebook when I posted my, hey, you passed your broker certificate with the 2 certificates, and it had a little champagne bottle emoji and a dance emoji, and that was 6 years ago, just last week. So been licensed for
Okay.
6 years. It's been basically the only job I've ever had. So born and raised here just south of Denver and Highlands Ranch. Went to Colorado State and played football up there for college. Went up there in 2017. 2013. So
Okay.
graduated 2013. So 2014 to 2016 was up at Colorado State. Played football up there, and that was a great experience. And then just going into my senior year, I realized I wasn't going pro in football. You know, a lot of people are a little bit better than you, and realized that. And my brother was in real estate at the time, so he had a little Keller Williams team down in Denver, and you know they were selling some cool shit downtown. So I forewent my senior year of football, which was a very, very hard decision to make. And but basically, I always wanted my life trajectory to be always moving forward and always trying to reach that peak. And a lot of athletes peak when their seasons are maxed out. And I saw the writing on the wall there, and I was like, I'm going to forego the senior year. I moved in with my parents, moved back to Highlands Ranch, finished my degree at at CU Denver. So I'm a Ram, but have a CU degree, which is very odd, but it worked out. As
a former CU buff, I'm sort of grateful you finished that last year.
Why'd you have to say that?
Yeah, I think the education might be worth a little bit more from CU. We had fun for sure. But yeah, go in, got my real estate license. Was able to start with Kentwood.
It looks like you got a gnarly injury on your hand there too.
Yeah, I broke this metacarpal in my hand playing hockey. So I play in a couple beer league hockey. Man. I picked it up like 2 years ago, playing a couple beer leagues, and was skating after a guy and like reached around him with my stick, and somehow my stick got caught on him and then just was on this whole finger and ripped out of my hand, and it fractured my metacarpal. So I go get a full cast today. So it's been fun. I get married.
That sounds painful.
Get married December 2nd, and it's going to be off in 6 weeks, hell or high water. So that's what they're saying. So that's typical of my personality, though. Always stuff comes up when like the most important things are happening to you, and
that sounds like someone else I know.
Sometimes. Is that like you guys?
Yeah. One question, because I've got a buddy who plays hockey in a league, and we grew up kind of playing football and basketball, and he was like, dude, and I haven't played hockey. But he was like, dude, it's so much harder. It's so much more cardio.
It's the hardest sport I've ever played by far.
Is it? Okay. All right. Well, I'll take your word for it.
You look at football and you're like, they can just like run and walk over to places. Hockey's just, it's a sport, and then you combine ice skating onto it. And it's so hard, but it's such a good workout. It's fun, and it's relatively like easy on your body unless you get hurt. So like if you're going around skating and stuff, it's not like hard on your knees like basketball, or people go to play football now, they're blowing out ACLs and stuff. So, but sometimes you get some freak injury type things.
Yeah,
because you're
like that
so
one.
Fast on skates. But it is a blast. It's such a good workout too.
Nice, man. Right on.
Andrew's playing old man basketball, and so he comes home every freaking week with some injury
just wobbling with a couple bags of peas on you.
Yeah, a lot of stretching, a lot of flexibility. My workout routine is now just almost straight flexibility.
Good. Yeah, you're being smart about it. Well, it makes it so you can play, but basketball randomly, you step on someone's leg wrong and your ankle blows out, but then you can go the whole months without anything happening. It's just it's random. That's getting old, huh? Is that I'm just as
flexibility,
I get
man.
older.
I'll tell you what. You're 28. I'm 40, and I've been playing basketball since I was a little kid. But I've been playing consistently like year round. The one thing is you got to keep playing whatever you're doing. Don't stop playing, because once you stop, it goes away. And then just flexibility, man. Like it's big. You just have to spend like an hour a day stretching if you want to continue to, play competitively. I'm almost now.
No. I'm sure you can keep it up for a few more years.
We'll see. They'll go full-time golf at that point.
God.
The golf is what messes me up. Golf, I'm 6'6", 260 pounds. So golf is tough. Is tough on it. I jack my back up. I can go into the gym and deadlift 400 pounds and fine, but I go and golf for a day and I'm on IR. So
Really?
it's crazy.
That's crazy. I've heard people say that. Yeah.
It's a tough
crazy.
part for sure.
All right, man. Well, look, let's pick up because you were telling us, you said you got out of, you graduated from CU Denver. You played football for a few years up in Fort Collins. You got right into real estate, which I got to say is interesting. Like I've been in lending for going on 13 years. I know a lot of real estate agents. I know a lot of loan officers. And it's very rare that someone gets in right out of college. I mean, most of the time it's like they'll have a career and then they'll do a part-time job as a real estate agent, and then that eventually becomes their full-time job. So that's really cool that you got in full-time right away.
Yeah, it was definitely, I always knew kind of growing up and, just even like seeing people work jobs, I was like, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I just never wanted to. And for some reason, even without the experience of it or too much experience of it, I knew that I always wanted to be some sort of, which is odd, but I always wanted to be some sort of commission type, you get paid for what you get out type of job. And that might be where the athlete mentality correlates, where, you get out what you put in and you're paid or valued appropriately with that. You have to be, it's not everyone just is all the same and is all paid the same, etc. Whereas an athlete, not every player is the same. You have your better players, you have your worst players, but there's a team aspect. But it could be a little bit of that correlation of that mentality, and I always knew I wanted to do that. And in just the brief where I was working at the bank downtown part-time, it was not it, where you're waiting for the hours to tick down. I always knew I wanted something where you're trying to buy more time. And now through my experience in real estate, you can always make more money. You can always make more deals. You can never get more time. And that's kind of been the biggest thing I've always valued is that sort of hunger that I think was instilled. Was instilled through me through my experience with sports and everything growing up.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. Let's touch on that a little bit further with being an athlete and having legitimate success going and playing Division I college football. I played football my whole life. I loved it. Didn't play past high school, but I struggled. And I talked to a lot of other athletes that have struggled too, because once it's over, it's hard because your identity gets wrapped up in that sport. That is who you are. And it took me years to get out of that, to find, something that motivated me in the same way, or something that I could kind of connect with that athlete mentality. Did you struggle with that? I mean, it sounds like it was a smoother transition for you, but, tell us about that transition between, being an athlete and then being in your career.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's a great item to touch on, and great, sort of topic to bring up. I think I might be the outlier of it, where I just never, I have a fear of capping out and like of peaking to an extent, whether if you in any aspects of life and in your physical fitness, in your relationships, in your career, etc. And I think that's what drives me so hard is I have a fear of reaching my potential and like declining. So I always want to be on the upswing. So I saw, so many of the players that I played with and teammates that I had that were far better than me. I saw them and they're, graduated and they're still hanging out in the locker room and everything. And I'm like, there's just a lot more to life than this. And growing up in Highlands Ranch, very well-off area to an extent. I don't come from multi-millions by any means, but I was raised well enough to, know that there's life outside of sports and everything. So seeing those guys kind of hang around the locker rooms and not proceed on life, and I was just looking forward to not having classes anymore, proceeding with a career, etc. That I think that sort of fear of peaking to an extent or reaching your potential, that's what really drove me, and I just shifted right into working harder than ever and balancing, a job, a real estate career that was sort of blossoming, finishing school, etc. And then once I was able to, I just really segmented it into basically a few different parts of let's finish school. So finish school. And then the next step was I want to do real estate full time. I had to, sort of accumulate deals to reach that point, and was blessed enough to join with Kentwood, which is a big luxury firm, or at the time was a big luxury firm here in Denver. And I saw $1 million listing and everything. Some of them did rentals, and I was like, no one does rentals here. And the guy that I joined on with Kentwood, he did a little bit of rentals, a little bit of sales here and there, and was lucky to basically all of Kentwood's relocation came through me on the rental side. And any of these apartments downtown, they'll pay you a month's rent to bring someone over. You don't have to do lease, you don't do anything. So, someone relocated from San Francisco needs a year-long rental at an apartment in Cherry Creek for $4,000 a month. They come to me. I bring them right in, tour them just like you would a for sale client, and was able to garner a amount of clients through that. And then my whole goal and what drew me was wanting to do real estate full time. So was able to get that fairly quickly, and that kind of catapulted my career in doing all the rentals and doing what a lot of brokers even just neglected. And I was getting other Kentwood agents clients and everything for rentals, and I'm like, I'll never say no to an easy $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is. Fulfilling myself 100% and doing a career full time. And I have to be, my whole life I had to balance school and football or sport that you're playing and all these other responsibilities, and really focus on one thing 100% of the time. That's what excited me, and that's what I work towards. And even things like this are a good reminder of that, to be thankful for where I'm at, and don't have to balance 1,000 things at once.
Yeah. Well, no, and that I'm glad that you that you mentioned that, balancing. I mean, that was probably a lot, just with balancing football and school, and so that probably prepared you, for life after that. Were there stumbling blocks though? Like, did you, because in sale, and it sounds like you had a nice little intro, with helping renters out, in meeting clients that way. But like, what was the hardest part about being a brand new real estate agent?
You're taking it. I mean, what's the hardest part now? There's still a bunch of hard parts, but no, being a brand new agent.
I know.
Now
it's
I
always
have about 8 or 10 agents that I'm able to help out and able to guide. Being a brand new agent was, for me, it necessarily wasn't that hard, because I think I'm normally a type A personality that wants to get out and meet people. And, it was always easy on my end to get out and meet people. But the brass tacks of it is getting out, meeting people, and meeting people was fairly simple for me, but getting them to trust you with their biggest financial purchases or continuing purchases of their life, and just getting them to trust some young kid that looks like some Chad that plays football, and a Chad is basically a very clean cut white kid, and that's apparently what I am. My fiance called me that when she found me on LinkedIn, so I guess it worked. But I'd say that the toughest hurdle was,
that's amazing,
trusting yourself, getting yourself out there, and then gaining that trust with others. And I really took it upon me to have my knowledge be as top tier as possible. So it's an instant attraction that I had with, sort of downtown real estate and high-end luxury type things. I love, luxury cars, luxury clothes, etc. So it was like easy to correlate that. But I really just focused in on knowing my shit. So knowing the best buildings downtown, knowing the apartment I was touring with, if it's a rental, knowing the sales area, if it's a sale, and really knowing, the neighborhoods, knowing where shops, restaurants, what someone would do in this, so that when that unicorn type lead or client came in, I was able to knock it out of the park. And I think a lot of brokers maybe get way too diversified, where they are a master of none to an extent. And what you're going to be successful in is what you're consistent in. And I just really focused in on, this is kind of answering how to be successful as opposed to what were the hurdles, but really focusing on knowing my shit. But the biggest hurdle that I faced was people thinking that I didn't. So it was a constant, and that again, is a little bit of the athlete mentality. And I wanted to get the opportunity to basically get get my target as I'm running down the field towards the end zone, and get that ball thrown to me. And I played tight end in college, and get that ball thrown to me. So the biggest hurdle I had was having people trust me to do my job. And then the biggest way I was able to overcome those hurdles is actually really focus in on the brass tacks of knowing your product, knowing what you're trying to get people to buy, knowing why they would want to buy that, and really actually focusing in on knowing your shit. And I think a lot of agents become way too diversified because you can get stretched so many directions in this career of it's all sexy to do and you count the commissions and everything, but a lot of brokers are getting caught up on one area and another and being a master of none. I would say really just focusing in on knowing that exact area that you're trying to sell and knowing that exact product, whether it be an exact school district that you're trying to correlate with. If you have kids that are in that area and you want to correlate with those types of families in that area, or if you're a downtown type of guy or gal, really knowing those areas, knowing the cool lofts, knowing the nice buildings down there, or whatever lifestyle you want to fit into, whether it be ranches or mountain towns or whatever it is. Colorado is pretty diverse in that, but really focusing on the product and knowing that product is what helped me extremely to become successful quickly.
Sure.
I mean, you bring up a great point, and what I love that you said is that you took the thing that you felt like people were like weary about you doing, and you made that like what you were an expert at. And so I think that's really, really neat. So in addition to being an expert in your content, what other traits do you feel like make you a successful real estate agent, or what traits do you see in other agents that make them successful?
Yeah, I think I really tried to pin in on, again, I keep on going back to this, but the athlete mentality is always striving to be your best and always striving to be like someone. Like when I was a kid growing up, I'd watch Rob Gronkowski play tight end, and that's who I wanted to be. So you're trying to emulate that. And in real estate, it's the same thing. So watching, being at Kentwood as a really young broker, you were able to see a lot of high-end brokers, in the room and see their listings and everything. And I was like, I always want to be the guy that has those listings to, show on the board, et cetera. And I'm just happy to be in this room. But then as I progressed and, started to see what people are doing and then be in deals with these types of agents, it really sort of solidified for me that, it was kind of a cool realization moment that anyone can do these types of deals. And it's really a matter of being there and having the opportunity to get to those deals, which was the really cool sort of realization. But in what I do to find success is find someone to replicate, to copy. A lot of the $1 million listing agents and popular, Ryan Serhants of the world or whatever it might be, have a ton of really, really unique media to do, and they're sharing content on social media, et cetera. And that was something I always wanted to do. I did everything from like, it wasn't a music video, but it was like a music video director did a lot of the media for me. And, I don't necessarily know if it worked in gathering clients, but it gathered attention because I was listening to some of the best brokers saying, you always have to post media, you always have to post media, you always have to post media. So I focused on that, doing a lot of videos and everything, and just being consistent. And that was something I saw a lot of my peers doing, and kind of leaned into that to make myself successful in sort of that exposure. And it got some slack from like my friends and everything, and people would say, "Oh, hey, Downtown Dave," kind of making fun of me and everything. But it's gotten me some sales. And if you're in real estate and you're not okay with being exposed or okay with putting yourself out there, you're just in the wrong career, because that's all we can do is get ourselves out there and know people. And unless you're some crazy smart hedge fund type of guy doing acquisitions for some capital group, like if you're not putting yourself out there and being friendly and making content, etc., you're not gonna do well consistently in real estate. So just really lean into that. I think media is important, but no matter what you do as an agent, it's what you do consistently is the only thing that you're gonna do to be consistently successful. So if you're someone that goes to events throughout your neighborhood or events. I went to a lot of like bar openings downtown and a bunch of charity organizations through events kind of downtown and just really cool high-end gala type things, and was consistent at going to those, and I made a lot of clients there. But whether it be going to events around your neighborhood and farmers markets and soccer tournaments and baseball tournaments, etc., that could be one way. Or sort of cool hip happenings downtown or whatever it may be. It's whatever you do consistent is the only thing that's going to work. And I consistently just made marketing in a lot of videos and consistently went out there. And always, we have a very cool career as people in the real estate industry where everyone has a need for it, and you instantly have something to talk about with everyone, and you don't need to be a sleazy salesman about it. But it always gets brought. What do you do? Oh, I do real estate. Oh, my neighbor's house just sold for $900,000. Do you think I can get that for my house? Boom, right there. There's a lead. And it's something I really kind of lean into, and try to just not be sleazy about it, but honestly just try to help people and really rely on that. But it just, consistency is all that I've done, and I'm very blessed to be where I am now, and I know that I could always do better, but I've kind of learned this year you could always be doing worse, and just kind of be thankful of where you're at.
I think there's an interesting point you made, and I didn't tell you this before, David, but I used to coach high school dance teams, like pretty high level, like they were really competitive and danced in college. And one of the things that I think comes from competing at levels like that is you see, when you're consistent with like habits, you can see the progress that you make. And so I think that transfers into your work. Like, you understand that if you're consistent with things, you're going to see success, even when it's really shitty and you're doing things that are difficult. And the other part is like, just the nature of sports is like, you put yourself out there all the time, and you mess up like very publicly in front of people. And so I think that, one of the successful traits is really like being okay at like trying things and like maybe failing in front of people. One of the things that I think like competing in sports teaches you is to very publicly fail. And you put yourself out there knowing that people are going to talk about you or talk about like failing. And so when you get into a position in your career where you have to, put yourself out there, if you have had a lifetime of like doing that, I think that, that's the most powerful thing I think people can do to be successful. And so many people don't do it because they're scared shitless to like look stupid in front of people. And so I think that's a really important point that you brought up.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And one thing I think sort of the athlete mentality and something that teaches you is, I was always scared as a football player of, you drop a pass, you have to do 100 push-ups and go run a mile around the track or whatever. It was very odd punishments they did as a kid, and I'm not sure how I lived through them. But in real estate and kind of my career, I was like, no one's going to make me do anything physical. No one's going to make me do a burpee or 10 push-ups or 50 pull-ups or run a lap. So I might as well just ask for anything and put myself out there, because the worst thing someone could do is no. And no is still an answer, at least you're getting to the no. I'd rather know that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people get really hung up, and I understand it. I get in my own head too. And, I'm not 100% flawless with it and following through with everything and asking for everything. But, I just really just look myself in the mirror sometimes if I get nervous, and I'm like, what's the worst they can say is no, and just do it. And a lot of times,
I think when you get
outcomes are crazy what you can get.
And when you get enough no's and you realize that you didn't die from them, like,
for sure,
you're like, oh shit, like this isn't so bad. Like, if this is the worst, like, great.
It builds character. And another touch on the athlete thing one more time. There's also a scoreboard in sales, and that's what's cool is you get, like you mentioned it at the beginning, like you get what you put into it, and like it shows when you don't put what you need to put into it, because you lose, and it's a competitive field. I do want to based on the that idea, talk a little bit about real estate is a very competitive field. I looked up just this morning, because I knew we were going to have this conversation. I looked up the average age for a real estate agent in Colorado. It's 49. So you are younger. I know you said you focused a lot on just knowing your shit so that you felt like you belonged there in that conversation with buyers. Is that how you feel like you stand out, or are there other things from being 28 that you think kind of gives you an advantage over someone who's maybe 50 and maybe they have more experience than you, but like how do you get in there and what do you bring that's a little bit different?
Yeah, that again, to echo on that sort of doing mentality, that not being afraid of someone saying no. So if I'm out and I see someone or we're talking and hit it off or whatever, I'll just straight up ask them, oh, what do you do? And then it gets correlated back to me and like, oh, any questions on the market or something like that. And I try not to be as out there as that, but I think sort of that maybe a little bit of naiveness that I have in not going through a corporate world in past experiences and, kind of getting beaten down by that. I've never experienced that. So I maybe have a little bit of naiveness to it and a little bit of a youthful energy to it where I'll just take on anything. I'll say yes to anything and then we'll figure it out as we go. And of course I've learned through my career that, it's led to a lot of headaches, but that athlete mentality never lets me give up. So, I'll push through, but I've had some deals that I think are harder than maybe they should have been because I took them on and maybe shouldn't have, but we got it through. But I'd say, what's been able to set me apart is really my ethics on the way I was raised. My dad is a vice president of banking with one of the banks here in Denver, and really taught me just how to be an ethical, smart, caring, compassionate person. And I truly, honestly tried to have that emulate through my clients and their deals and be able to fill for them. And also my competitive nature. So if and of course, deals get you more deals. As you do more deals, you have more clients that come to reach out for you, more referrals, et cetera. But I'd say one of my biggest things that helped me is my competitive nature. And if I'm someone's buyer's agent or seller's agent and I'm not representing both sides, I will go to bat for you. You're my sort of trophy, or I'm trying to get to that trophy of getting you that house for the best price possible or selling it for the highest price possible and get you the absolute best deal in terms you could possibly get. And my trophy at the end is, your thank you that you get at the end. And it's that sort of competitive mentality. I'd say, that athlete mentality of always working, always pushing has been able to set me apart and drive. And then also that competitive nature of really going and not putting competitive of, putting other people down or anything, but really getting competitive about my clients and their deal and their wins. And, I think my clients feel like they're taken care of if they get basically, in my sphere and in my grasp. And it's just, hey, come along for the ride and I'll honestly, ethically get you the best deal possible because I truly do care. And just, I'd say overarching, it's kind of a combination of those, but then, also putting yourself out there and treating this, because I've never experienced a corporate type setting or a salary type job where you're 9 to 5 or hourly type job where you're 9 to 5. I really treated this always, and my dad said when you took a commitment, he always thought I was crazy because I took a commission-based job. He's like, no one ever makes money with that. He's a little bit old school, but I proved him wrong. So that's good. But in treating this like a career, and and really time blocking it, and waking up early every day, and working every single day, and every day it might not be your best, but as long as you're doing stuff consistently, you're going to reap the rewards. And it's on the days where you don't feel like doing anything, where you don't feel like texting those past clients, or you don't feel like answering those emails. Those are when deals pop up. And it's really the last overarching thing is treating this like a job and treating this like a career, because it's only a career where you can say, I don't have anything on my schedule. I could go fuck off for the whole day, and no one's going to get you in trouble because you're only paying yourself. And just really treating like a career and moving like that to then have the luxuries that other jobs don't have happen. Other jobs don't have 6-figure commission checks and aren't, or they do, and they're just unobtainable until you're 30 years down the road. But really treating this like a job, like a career, and caring about it, but then also being competitive, are just the sort of mix that I've been able to, the magic potion that I've been able to formulate that, I don't think I could replicate if I had 10 times to do it again, but just always trust myself and put myself out there.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. Now you mentioned, it sounds like you have a great work ethic, getting up early, treating it like a job. I love that, because I don't think a lot of sales professionals do that. We talk a lot on this podcast about like, personal development and routine and working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Are you someone that buys into that? Like, or do you learn most of what you learn from, doing transactions, or do you also like put time in for yourself with like a morning routine? How does that, how would you answer that question?
This is something I'm a big proponent of, but I'm a kind of an unorthodox proponent of it. So a lot of people, everyone in sort of this, and I think any listener here is someone that wants to be better about themselves or in some sort of entrepreneurial platform or some sort of real estate business. So they're always they have that competitive entrepreneurial spirit in them. But I think a lot of people lean into, they'll get religious about listening to, having their meditation or listening to their favorite podcast, or, being a Grant Cardone follower or an Ed Milet follower, and they lean into that sort of self-help as a crutch, and not actually, they get too busy following instead of actually working on themselves. And the best self-help is the best sort of self-help is the things that you're going to do. And it's all about becoming the best version of yourself. And ultimately, a lot of people get way too caught up in spending hours of reading or hours of listening to this person, what they say, and don't just actually get up and do work on themselves. Biggest thing I've done with that is,
you actually have to implement the things that you learn. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people just, they get, and I found myself getting caught up in this. And I was like, it doesn't fucking matter if I read 10 of these books. If I don't implement any of them, I'm better off listening to one chapter and implementing that for a week and, doing that. So I really try to, as often as I can, I'm a big proponent of working out in the morning. I think that you guys were talking about the cold plunge at the beginning of this pool. My gym, the Denver Athletic Club downtown, has one of those. And I find that if I can hop, do a quick workout and hop in the sauna for 10 minutes, and then hop in there, it's one of those where, as I was talking about earlier, like nothing's harder than some sort of physical labor that someone makes you do, and nothing's harder than that fucking cold plunge. You get in there and you just feel like you feel like you got punched by Mike Tyson for 10 seconds in there. And as you sort of mellow out, it makes the rest of your day just super easy, and you're clear headed. You also can't walk, but as you stumble through the day, you'll be okay. But big proponent of, working out. A little bit of my schedule is, mostly every day aside from, Saturday, Sunday. So I try to, at least 4, 5, 6 times a week. And, a lot of people get really regimented in trying to do something every day. Just do the best that you can every day. There's some days where you sleep until 7 and, fuck it, shit happens. But I try to, almost every day wake up 5:30, get to the gym by about 6, do some sort of workout and sauna sort of decompression till about 7, and then start my day. And I try to I'm a big proponent of this, of time blocking, and try to not schedule any appointments from like in the first 2 hours of the day. Just have that time blocked for yourself to work on your business. So from 8 to 10, I try to just about every day. Of course, there are things that do come up. Just work on my business. And my one goal as an entrepreneur, and one hardest thing, will always be constantly generating leads. A lot of people get caught up in their deals. The deals happen, and the deals, you'll get through them as you go. But one goal as entrepreneurs is going to be always constantly generating new clients. So from 8 to 10-ish, just about every day, I try to focus on my deals and focus on procuring new clients, and always constantly reaching out, because that way you never then hit a lull. And if I can carve out that kind of 8 to 10 little bit of time frame, and even like 8 to 9, I can get so much done in an hour, and then it frees up the rest of my day, for appointments, showings, whatever it may be, going somewhere with my fiance, or having to go take care of my dog, or, if people have to take care of the kids, whatever it might be. If you can get sort of that first hour to yourself, it really sets up your day extremely well for success. And the biggest proponent of that is getting that workout done early. I've tried where I try to do that workout at noon or 5 o'clock, and it's not the same. You're always rushed through it. Your phone's buzzing, and that sort of that sort of 5:30 to 7 a.m. is like borrowed time, where a lot of people are sleeping in. It's borrowed time. Your phone's not buzzing. You're able just to focus on yourself. And I'm a big proponent of that. And then just time blocking your schedule, but also not being too hard on it. You can't be perfect. And as long as you're consistent as much as you can with things, then the right things do pop up and you're able to reap the rewards of those.
Yeah, love that.
I love that you use that time, because we use time blocking
too.
You
guys
but I
have
think
kids
one
and
of the
everything to
important
juggle,
things to use it.
so it's a little harder.
Oh yeah, and if you don't get that shit done in the
happening.
morning, like it ain't happening. Yeah, no. But we're I mean, we're both kind of I mean, we time block everything. I mean, we try to make sure that everything is in our schedule that we ever need to know. So it's really cool that you do that. And I think the other important piece for listeners is, like, you really only have about 3 to 5 hours in your day where you're like super productive. So like, I think that, for us at least, and it sounds like for you, it's the morning, right? And so using that early morning time when like the world is not like rolling yet, or that really early morning time to do kind of those like, like Stephen Covey's quadrant 2 activities, where it's like proactive and planning and doing all that stuff first thing in the morning, and cranking that out is really valuable for business.
For just setting
That's
the tone
great.
to a day. And again,
Yeah.
for any listeners, don't get so caught. Just start trying shit. Start trying time blocking that works. You could spend a year learning about time blocking strategies. Just pick one and try it. Don't waste your time trying to understand every single time. Just pick one and try it. And I promise that you'll find one that works for you. Just don't get caught up in the self-help of self-helping.
Totally.
Yeah, that's good advice, man. Not enough people talk about that, because you can get caught up in that following and, basically be listening way more than you're actually implementing. And that doesn't really do you any good. And it's a lot of the same ideas, just pitched in different ways.
Yeah. It's all kind of the same sort of stuff. And just, as you said, Andrew, just pitched in a different way, and it doesn't work until you work it. And those guys would be the first people. And I don't know if you had them in a room or had a couple cocktails in them, they tell you to your face, hey, you just got to do this stuff. And the rest of it, is just benefiting me. And they love that, you'll follow them forever and they're going to make money off that. But honestly, like, genuinely what they care about is helping you and just doing things. And a lot of people get caught up on it. And I think, again, that goes back to the athlete mentality of, you have to practice, you have to go out and catch balls if you're going to get better at catching balls. You have to make calls if you're going to close more leads, and you just have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. All right, let's talk a little bit about the market here before we let you go, because it's interesting in 2022 here. Broad question for you. What is your perspective of the real estate market in Colorado right now?
Yeah. I think it's I think it's really leaning towards, and I'm thankful and I welcome this because my competitive nature is going to come out. I think it's really opening up towards, you have to, and we just keep on, as realtors, there's so many forces that try to get rid of the conventional real estate model. And, it was kind of, Zillow was buying up a lot of stuff and they were getting rid of that, and Redfin was blasted out. Then COVID hit. And then your market needed to be super, super focused in on, and, it matters so much to have that expert. COVID hit. And then that came. And then, things are starting to come back, and you're starting to see these iBuyers start to come. And then a recession starts to come. And then the real estate agent is being used a lot more. I think in this current market, in this current climate where, pricing matters so much and deals matter so much, and a buyer has a power, then a seller doesn't know that they don't have the power anymore. Having just a really localized expert is going to be paramount, because you're not only, it doesn't matter if your sister's a realtor and also or your sister has an active license and, can just help you out. If you don't have that expert, you are leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table as a seller, or you're going to sit on the market and get gouged. And as a buyer, the flip side, you're not getting the deal that you could have potentially got. You're not getting the rate that you could have potentially got with buy downs and seller concessions, et cetera. And I think it's just going to be paramount in using an expert in the field of, no matter where you're buying, really having that person know, because that person is paramount into guiding you on the best deal possible. And I think a lot of people got excited about the market and used necessarily, brokers that didn't do the best job for them, and, had them pay over on appraisal gaps, et cetera, over the past year. And those people that paid $100,000, $200,000 above ask threw away 3 years of equity. And I think people are seeing that in the market now, because it looks like our market's going down, but in reality, it was so hyperinflated. It was 130% above average, et cetera. So now you're seeing a plateau, or even sort of some dips in some spots. It's very normal. And, Denver's insulated where, we still do have a lot of demand here. A lot of companies moving here. The tax laws are a lot more lax than other places. And, you get out here, you love it. That's why we live here, of course. So I think Denver's going to be insulated, but it's just, you have to price appropriately. You have to do all the right things. You have to market. You have to have exposure, and you can't just throw a sign in the yard and expect that it's going to sell. And you can't just go take that buyer around and let them offer asking price, because a lot of times that isn't the best offer you can do. So I think just really leaning back to, in the market, it's going to be just really consulting experts and really listening to that advice, and, not letting emotions drive. And I think a lot of buyers and sellers let emotions drive over the past year, and it's set basically 2 years, unrealistic expectations. And those expectations are now a lot more realistic. And, with the right sort of advice, deals are still happening, buyers are still buying, sellers are still selling. The market is still very strong. It's just a lot of sort of fear mongering is getting people emotional and letting those unintelligent emotional decisions drive some people sometimes. But that could mean a deal for some buyer or a deal for some seller. And, we're here to help in any regard. But overall, I think the market should be strong. Barring any unforeseen 1.5% interest rate blips or anything like that. And I think we're going to start to see some easing on the rates come middle of next year, is everything I've read. And, but, overall, what I communicate to my clients is the best time to buy is now, the best time to sell is now, but ultimately whatever works for your timing as a person. If you're having to move for a job change, like you need to sell that house. If you're having to buy for more space, you're not going to sacrifice your family's happiness for a year to, maybe get a 1% less interest rate. Like, we'll still be able to get you a deal on whatever you could do. And ultimately the consumer is going to drive that timeline. And, there's still pros and cons to every market. And, we're just going to maneuver those. And Sicily real estate's gone up over the past, 100 ever since it's been calculated. So it's always a good buy or a good sell, but it's really just being educated about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Great advice. Be educated, work with a local expert. On the mortgage side of things, rates have jumped up dramatically. I've been hearing this little phrase tossed around from people in my industry is marry the house. Well, our industry, marry the house, date the interest rate, divorce the rent, right? I mean, like you said, at some point.
I didn't hear that part before. That's funny.
We had the divorce
the rent.
Divorce the rent, But no, I think that's really important. Education is as important as ever. Strategy is big with the buy downs right now and the seller concessions. And I'm glad you brought that up. There has been a big pivot here. Like you mentioned, at the beginning of 2022, we were seeing $100,000 over list price, waiving all the deadlines, bridging the appraisal gap. That was crazy. And then, now, which is just 6 months after that, it's different. So have you had to has it just been a focus on education for you with your clients? Has been resetting expectations for sellers or for buyers because rates have jumped up? Has that been tough for you? I guess, what's your process for, setting expectations and educating your clients?
Yeah. And I don't think any realtor will express this as much as maybe I do. And I'm just very blunt, but no one knows, no realtor, no finance person knows exactly what's going to go on in the market. They don't know exactly where rates will go to. They don't know exactly where they'll jump down to. They don't know exactly where this house will go for. All we can do is make an educated guess. And our clients' timing is going to be the biggest driver of that. So, you can never time anything perfect. Some people do, and it just works out that way. But us as real estate agents, we're dealing with people's lives. We're dealing with where they call home, whether it be selling, whether it be buying. And ultimately, all we can do is best advise where that is, right in their current timeline. So I take every single buyer, every single seller, when they start to, get hot and say, hey, let's list right now, or let's wait, or whatever it may be, I really preface them with, hey, there's a lot of unknown in the future. Here's what's happening right now. Here's what I can explain right now. Here's what's to expect. If you're a seller, you're going to be, I give it about 2 weeks to 3 weeks, depending on motivation, on your price at market price. If we need to adjust, we can adjust, but I'd probably, it's going to be about 30 to 60 days, barring, anything unforeseen, for us to get a contract. And it's going to take a little bit. Some price reductions are healthy. Here's a range depending on how motivated you are to list your home. And I just be real with them. With the buyer, I preface, hey, it's paramount that you understand the lending side, because I don't want to have you fall in love with something that you go shopping for and then you can't do it because the lending side's at a 6% rate and you didn't know it was there. So it's paramount to advise them on the lending side first, because although prices are going to seem a little bit different, and you might be able to get a deal, you're having to stomach that big rate. So I really preface that, and I just try to, with every client, no matter, even if they're renting something, I just try to explain what the current market is and what's driving their motivations, and almost detach it a little bit from sort of the numbers side of analytically driven, and say, hey, what are you looking to accomplish as a family, as a family, or as a person, if someone's buying a bachelor pad, whatever it may be, not everyone's a family. And just understand that, and then say, okay, here's what's happening right now, and here's what's to expect, and here's what's anticipated in the future, but I don't know in the future. And I think it's going to look potentially a touch more, it's going to be harder in the future as you go, but people's timing is people's timing, and us as experts, you're there to adhere to them at the current moment, and explain to that, and then explain what expectations are. But just, I try to be very personal with my clients and understand what their goals are, and then explain, hey, here's what's to expect. Of course, I don't have a crystal ball. No one does. But here's how I can help you right now, and here's what's to expect. And then let them drive that time, and just have them understand that you're there for them to help.
I think connection and expectations are huge, for sure. All right. So in closing, I want you to give me your 3 favorite restaurants currently. Andrew and I are always trying
Denver.
in Denver.
Do you want
Denver? Where do you like to hang out?
Like, where do I hang out, or where I like to go eat? Because I got 2 sides of this. As us big guys, they don't tell you this sometimes, because there's spots where you go hang out, have a beer, hang out, have some appetizers, but then sometimes a big guy needs to just eat. And sometimes
those are 2 different
things.
That's
not the sexiest thing to do. I would say, what kind of food? Do you want just broad range?
Let's do, where do we go to eat? I want, and I'm not as
David,
big as you.
Make us cool. Make us cool. Where do we go?
I'll give you my Downtown Dave special, and then I'll give you my, like, David, throw me in some basketball shorts and we're going to eat for a little bit.
Ooh,
all right.
Okay.
Downtown Dave, number 1, I somehow convinced myself in my mind, I was like, okay, if I go to Chipotle and they charge me for double meat and they charge me for a drink, it's like $24. And I was like, and then I convinced myself it's the same as like a $50 lunch at Hillstone. So I go to Hillstone and Cherry Creek is my favorite place for lunch or an early dinner. Their food is just amazing. It's not too expensive. It also doesn't like super fill you up, and it's like a great spot. It's always busy. Very fun for Cherry Creek. Very fun to, go have some lunch and then walk over to the mall or something like that, or, kill off an hour stressfully like I do. The Hawaiian unknown special item, the Hawaiian ribeye is the best steak I've had in Denver. And that's like Capitol Grill, Shanahan's, all of your other steakhouses through Denver. That's like $100 a steak. This steak is like $35, and it's like kind of sweet and soy marinated ribeye. It's the best meat. It's the best ribeye in Denver, best steak in Denver, and I'll testify to that. And you're not spending $100 for a tomahawk. Hawaiian ribeye at Hillstone. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Capitol Grill. I love Capitol Grill downtown. I think a lot of people do know about that, but it's a very, very just old school vibe, and you can go there and eat and not feel bad about it. That's my second favorite. third favorite, I'll kind of keep it diverse for y'all. I love, if you want somewhere like kind of cool to go, that's a fun vibe, Happy Camper in Low-Hi. They have pizza, burgers, anything you can want, fun drinks. They do the Rattler beers. They do like a shot of like vodka, lemonade, and the beer in it. And I could have a couple of those and feel a little bit tipsy, and I'm huge. So it's a fun drink, fun vibe. It's always crowded. It was like an old gas station right there in Low-Hi, and they came in and made a just killing. They opened it during COVID and have an outdoor space, so they were able to stay open. And just really, if you're looking for like a fun new place to go, Happy Camper is great in Low-Hi. Those are kind of my three recommendations. For my three recommendations of like where I like to go to like eat. Number one is Cheesecake Factory. Big Cheesecake Factory proponent. Growing up by Park Meadows Mall, that's my favorite spot, and it gets a bad rap, but I love that place. Number two is Outback. Love Outback Steakhouse. I'm a big chain.
Outback Steakhouse. Okay.
Big chain restaurant guy. Love chain restaurants, and everyone thinks like,
there you go.
Like, oh, I live in the Highlands.
You can't go wrong.
And people are like, oh, why don't you like this place? I was like, chains are chains for a reason, and they're good restaurants. That's number two.
Good point.
Number three, like Red Robin, or if you want to get really just dirty with me, Arby's. I love Arby's.
Arby's.
Some of that horsey sauce.
The horsey sauce, and you can throw like a cheese stick on a roast beef sandwich and call it a day, and just you go to Happy Camper.
That is. Yeah.
You go play basketball or something. Go have that after, not before.
That would be after.
But
that would be like that.
That'd be the post game for the old man league championship or something. Win or lose.
Yeah, just
Arby's.
But you're gonna feel that maybe longer than you feel the basketball. Injuries. You're gonna be feeling that for a couple of days of elevated heart rate, etc. But
I'm glad you brought Arby's up, man.
Those are my kind of top tiers.
I love that. Well,
underrated.
That's awesome.
Underrated.
Yes.
David, thank you so much for being with us today. It was really fun to get to know you a little. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. It's Downtown Dave, _Dave_. Kind of all over that. Instagram is probably my favorite that I most consistently post on. Run a couple business pages, but yeah, Instagram is probably the most popular. Downtown Dave.
Yeah, check him out, guys. It is really cool content. We've got a lot of people in the real estate mortgage industry that listen to this, and check him out. I love the videos, very creative, and yeah, man, we appreciate your time for sure. Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you all for listening. If you guys are listening to this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy the content, and follow us, subscribe. We love to keep connected with our audience. So thanks.